All right, we are here at my Vermihut indoor worm bin, and today we've got 3 objectives for these worms. First, we're going to see how the bin is doing since we almost killed off a portion of it with tofu. Next, we're going to refeed it, and then at the end, we're going to set up a very cool time lapse to see which of the amendments the worms go after first. Plus, we're going to put one secret ingredient that a commenter has been asking for. So if you remember, right here is where we had the tofu, and we did take out a big portion of the bedding that was right there, and then we mixed everything together. So what I've been doing is kind of checking on this every couple days to make sure that the worms are still alive and I didn't trap gas in here, or whatever was causing the issues within the bedding didn't foul it up for them. So things are looking good. It's been 23 days, so they've eaten down a lot of the food, and right here is where we fed. So I'm going to go ahead and dig under there. And last feeding, we started by laying down a bunch of dry shredded cardboard. Then we added some spinach and broccoli stalks, followed by blueberries and a lettuce stalk. Next, we added an apple core, a peach, and some strawberries, followed by a banana peel on top. Finally, we added our amendments of worm chow, spent coffee grounds, pulverized eggshell grit, and a small sprinkling of more shredded cardboard. So let's see under here if anything is left. I'm kind of expecting maybe some of the broccoli stalks. This looks like it is the peach seed with nothing around it. So I think they ate that. I'm just gonna dig underneath, and what I'm feeling is mostly cardboard, but there's still some worms in there. And we put it down dry, but it is now very wet. Let me go ahead and dig in the center and dump it over. And yep, lots of great worms and no food, just the bedding. So we have fed this, I believe, 4 times since we rotated, and we are actually on 61 days. So this normally would be the day that we rotated, but since I took so long and all the food is gone, I'm gonna feed them one more time and then probably come in here in 2 more weeks, and then we'll do our rotation. And there we go, right there, some of the skeleton of the broccoli, or I guess you would say exoskeleton, because they eat the inside and then the outer is what remains, all this kind of stringy stuff. So I'm looking at the feeding zone here, and it is completely devoured. Not any food stuff at all. So, well, you know what? I think I saw a pepper. Yep, a little bit of a pepper top, but just the stringy stuff. None of the fleshy stuff is in here. And what we're gonna do for this feeding is we're gonna give them some fast food. Not fast food like you would get in a restaurant, but food that they're gonna eat fast, because the next step for this tray on top here is to go down and be the pre-harvest tray. And this is a seed, probably a cherry seed, because I think we fed cherries. Whoa! Sorry, executive producer. That's all right, we'll get that later. So what I'm gonna do now is just kind of go on the sides. In fact, let's go on the side that had the tofu, and clearly there are worms there, so it didn't cause any kind of lasting damage, and not for anything down below either, because they wouldn't be going down like this little blue worm is doing right there. Here's a red wiggler, and here's a blue worm. Let's keep looking down here. Ooh, what's this? Something that's gonna last a little bit longer, so I'm gonna put this in the feeding zone. If I remember, a lot of times I forget, but things are looking good over here. All right, we'll just kind of churn and go over to the top side of this and see how this is doing. Now, I do this because I normally only feed in the center, and I'm just trying to mix everything up. If you choose different sides to feed, or diagonally, my son does that, or go on the edges, then you really don't need to churn all around, unless you like looking at your worms like I do, because when you are feeding them in different spots, you're really aerating the bin and getting oxygen down there. And that's what I'm doing. Giving them oxygen all throughout, making sure there's no matted down areas, and also mixing up any kind of the food or leftover food or bedding that was in there, so I don't just get one pile here and no worms here. So things are looking good. Let's go ahead and make a trench, and I'm actually going to bulk this up since this is the last feeding. There's not going to be anything else given to them before it goes down to the pre-harvest and kind of sits there to marinate and let the worms finish it off for 60 days before I pull out the castings. There we go, just like that. So again, this is dry shredded cardboard right down just like that, and I'm gonna put a bunch of it in here this time. And again, I'm not too worried about it being dry because these worm towers really retain their moisture very well. So let's start with some banana peels. I'll just kind of put them in different areas just like that. It looks like a couple of blueberries snuck in as well. And then here's some lettuce that we grew in our garden, and then a few more. Now you can see all of this food has been previously frozen, and then I thawed it out a little bit, which is why it looks so wilty. And it looks like we've got some apples, a grape, some carrots, just a smorgasbord of of all the food scraps that we've been eating. We'll go in with a couple more apples and some strawberry tops. And this was the first strawberry of the season, but a critter got into it right here, so I picked it early. And the executive producer got me some hoops and netting, so I'm hoping that will keep the critters out. And there we go, just a few more. That looks like a really good feeding. So normally here's where I would put the amendments, but I'm gonna put all the amendments on top so that we can run our experiment. So I'll just line it with a little bit more shredded cardboard, and then we are just gonna bury it up and try and get a level playing field here so that the worms have equal access to get to everything. And we're gonna do it in the corners so that some of it will be overlapping the feeding zone here, because we would assume that the worms are gonna go to the feeding zone first and the higher population will be there. So I don't wanna put a section here and here and they get a head start. So let's kind of make sure this is all good, just like that. I'm not gonna be able to get the depth perfect because there is a little bit of a hump right here. So we have a little bit of a problem. I forgot to put these two things in. So we are just gonna go ahead and dig into the feeding we just did, that beautiful feeding. And we're gonna put this old food scrap and we're gonna put this down just like that. And then we will bury it up again. Ah, it was so perfect. Oh, there's a strawberry poking out. There we go. Thank you, executive producer, for the assist. So we had a commenter that asked several times if we could try whey protein in the worm bin. So I'm gonna give that a try, and I'm not gonna put a whole lot because anytime I'm trying a new food, I just wanna put a little bit because I don't want to overwhelm them like I did with the tofu. It kind of clumped up there, so I'm just gonna spread it out a little bit, and that will be this square right here will be the protein powder. A little bit more. There we go. I'm hoping that right there is not an indicator of what is to come. He did not like being spread with powder. We'll see when we put the eggshell grit and other stuff on if the other worms react like that. So next we'll put in some eggshell grit in this quadrant. And what I have seen in past time lapses is that the worms really go for the eggshell grit first. It seems like they are attracted to it. At first I thought maybe it was just accidental, but no, they really go for it. So hopefully they don't prove me wrong here. And if they do, just more data for us. Next we're gonna go in with my worm chow, and this is mainly cornstarch, I believe. And then we still have just a little bit of the sprinkles from the executive producer's cupcake decorating collection that is just crazy amounts of years old. So that's why it went in here. And there we go, just like that. There's the other quadrant. Worm chow, eggshell grit, whey protein powder. And then finally, we'll put in some coffee grounds. This might be the hardest for us to see, but we will still be able to see if the worms come up to it and if they go for it quicker here, or if one of the other places is the place that they like and they go quicker there. And just to let you know, it looks like the worm is still moving and he is going underneath. So I think it was just he didn't like it on top of him or her because they're hermaphrodites. And since you stayed here this long, let's go ahead and get a sneak peek of what that time lapse looks like. Pretty cool. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, hit that subscribe button and give me a like. And if you want to see the last time I did a time lapse with my worm chow, check out this video right here. And let's just kind of clean off the edges of the worm bin, just like that. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.